Hey everybody, thank you for purchasing the $3 steak. Communication is important in any aspect of life. As someone who has a background in communications, I believe this sentiment to be 100% true. The episode that I want to talk about is Season 2, Episode 16 of Kim's Convenience. In the episode, Jung is talking to Kimchi about a possible move to another job, but has not said anything about it to Shannon yet. When Shannon overhears their conversation, Jung immediately talks about how he passed his GED. Shannon, seeing this as an important accomplishment, wants to celebrate, so she decides to plan a party for Jung after hours. Around the same time, Amma finds out that Jung and Appa have been secretly texting each other again. Amma is extremely excited because she sees this as the first step towards father-son reconciliation. Appa, however, does not like Amma's excitement and prefers to keep things more low-key, while also communicating that he does not like how pushy Amma gets when things like this happen. Amma, who hears this, accepts Appa's plea and agrees to dial it back. Now, one thing to note about this moment, I completely understand both sides. For Appa, he's uncomfortable when people are overly emotional, or at least have an over-the-top reaction such as the one we saw with Amma. In my life, personally, I know people who can react like this, and it can come off very strong, and I personally don't enjoy seeing those reactions, especially when people are doing it on purpose, over things that do not justify such a reaction. However, in this instance, Amma is absolutely justified in her reaction. As the show establishes, Appa and Jung have not spoken in over 9 years. So for her to see reconciliation, this is a big deal, and it does justify that level of excitement. So I completely side with Amma as well. Later on, Janet finds out about the celebration for Jung passing his GED, and she begins to feel overlooked. When she finds out that Appa bought 2 tickets to a basketball game to celebrate Jung's graduation, Janet immediately gets upset and voices her frustrations openly. While Janet is often justified in her complaints, here I have to kind of offer some pushback because Janet is missing the bigger picture. The celebration isn't just about Jung graduating, it's also about reconciliation, reunion between Jung and Appa, repairing what has been a broken relationship, and again, a relationship between 2 people, father and son, who have not spoken to each other in over 9 years. And not only have they not spoken to each other in 9 years, they have not been on good terms for over 9 years. Subsequently, Jung and Shannon are talking in the back as they are planning the party. Jung puts a corsage on Shannon's wrists, and as he was going to say thank you to her for, I assume, everything she has done for him, Jung and Shannon share a kiss, which in turn complicates their relationship. Shannon immediately walks out, and later on, Jung wants to talk about it. Shannon does not want to talk about it, but Jung insists and says that people who throw people parties do not do that just because they're friends. Which, interesting logic, but I'm pretty sure earlier on in the episode, Shannon did say that it was because she wanted to make up for her prom that she missed in high school. So it didn't have as much to do with Jung as it was more about her own personal regrets. Shannon, in response, did say and correctly point out that she is in a relationship, and not just that, but she doesn't want to complicate the dynamic that she has with Jung because they work together. Jung spills the beans that he got a new job, which was a bad idea, and you will see why later on in the episode. This news upsets Shannon as she storms out. Jung is left alone, and later in the episode, Appa tries to connect with Jung. As Appa is trying to connect with Jung, he notices something is bothering Jung and attempts to help him. But rather, instead of resolving things, this conversation led towards an argument between Appa and Jung, which later led to Jung storming off, Appa going to walk back into the party, and as Appa and Amma are talking, Amma asks about Jung, and Appa, rather than just communicate what happened, he just proceeds to call Jung stubborn. Amma, not knowing anything about the situation, proceeded to berate Appa. This led to a fight between Appa and Amma, who were nothing more but mere bystanders to a large misunderstanding. At the end of the episode, Janet finally receives the graduation and recognition she never received before from her parents, and even got the 2 tickets to the basketball game that Appa was going to give Jung. The two embrace, and the episode ends on a happy note for Janet. However, when Jung was calling back the job that he had applied to but was never guaranteed the job, they later tell him that the company is going a different direction because Jung's background check didn't clear due to Jung's past. As Jung walks into the kitchen, he talks to Kimchi, who reveals that he ended up taking the position that Jung previously had. And now Jung is without a job. So the reason I wanted to talk about this episode is because of the importance of communication. And as you can see in this episode, communication plays a big role. The only one who gets a happy ending in the episode is Janet, because she communicated her concerns and she ended up getting tickets to a basketball game, and she was met with a good resolution. Whereas you look at the opposite with Jung, he did not communicate properly with Shannon, which later led to a fight between him and Shannon. Then he fails to properly communicate his frustrations to Appa. This leads to another fight. Appa, who was feeling the intensity of the argument, later brought this on to Amma. Essentially, it became a trickle-down effect, all because of a lack of communication amongst 3 different people. The only ones who actually did communicate here was Janet and Shannon. Janet, who communicated her feelings, and Shannon, who communicated her feelings, and she does not want to pursue anything with Jung because she does not want to complicate that workplace dynamic. Jung announcing that he is leaving for another job, while that alone is not a bad idea, context matters. For one, he announced it in the middle of this conversation right here. He could have given her notice at a different time. That's number one. Number two, as Jung stated at the beginning of the episode, he said that it was not a for sure thing. So why would he think that he had the job later on in the episode is beyond me. And finally, and this just kind of bothers me, is Jung used this as an excuse because Shannon said she didn't want to ruin the workplace dynamic. However, he's completely overlooking the other side to this argument. Shannon is in a relationship. She is not available. And as I said in my previous video, even if he wins her over, he's still ruining a relationship for her. A relationship that, for all we know, could be amazing for Shannon. Essentially, Jung is a homewrecker, and I just don't have any respect for a homewrecker. I think Jung is crossing major boundaries in this episode. But that's neither here nor there. The important part is Jung did not communicate properly. He did not communicate properly to his father, and during his argument with Shannon, even though he did communicate that he was leaving, he still went about it the wrong way. Again, time and place. Because now, as you're learning the hard way, you are now out of a job and you burned a bridge with a workplace that you were doing really well in. So now I'm curious to see what goes on with Jung going forward, what he proceeds to do. And given that this is TV, I'm sure there will be a trope where he ends up getting his job back somehow. But overall, after all of this that I said, I still don't dislike Jung. He just has a couple of dislikable qualities, in my opinion. I still do like him. I think he does have a lot of redeemable qualities, such as he is there for Kimchi, and he is a good son, and he is a good brother. So he is a good, well-meaning guy. It's just that the times that I have seen him interact with Shannon, it just has not been the best. So, that's my opinion. Overall, moral of the story, communication is very important. And it's important that you communicate, it's important how you communicate, and it's important what you communicate, especially in the context of time and place. So, that was the video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what your thoughts of this episode are in the comment section below, and I will get back to you with another episode relatively